Happy Vitisterius for our renowned Duke.
Thanks, good again. What's the news with you?
Full of impatience am I, with complaints against my child, my daughter of Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius, my noble lord. This man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander, in my gracious Duke. This man hath bewitched the bottom of my child. Thou hast given her round half by moonlight at her window shine, with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of thy hair, rings, gauds, and sake, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers, of strong prevailment in under and hardened youth, with cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness, and my gracious Duke, be it so she will not hear before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius, I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may depose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided that day.
What say you, Hermia? The advice fair maid to your father should be as God, one that composed your beauty, ye and one, to whom you are but from in wax, by him imprinted and within his power, to leave the figure or disfigure it. Demetrius is a worthy gentleman.
So is Lysander.
In himself he is, but in this kind, wanting your father's voice, the other must be held the worthier.
I would my father know, but with my eyes.
Rather your eyes must with his judgment look.
I do entreat your grace to pardon me. I know not by what power I am made to, nor how it may concern my modesty, in such a presence here to feed my thoughts. But I beseech your grace that I may know the worst that may befall me in this case, if I refuse to wed Demetrius.
Either to die the death or to abjure for every society of men. Therefore, fair Hermia, question your desires. Know of your youth, examine well your blood, whether, if you yield not to your father's choice, you can endure the library of a nun, for to be in shady cloister you, to live a barren sister all your life, chanting faint hymns to the cold, footless moon. Thrice blessed they that matters sow their blood, to undergo such maiden pilgrimage. But earlier happy is those distilled, than that which withering the virgin cell, grows, lives, and dies in single blessing.
So will I grow, so live, so die, my Lord.
Take time to pause, and by the new moon, the sealing day betwixt my love and thee, for everlasting blood of fellowship, upon that day either prepare to die, for disobedience to your father's will, or else to wed Demetrius as he will, or on Diana's altar to protest, for a austerity and single life.
Brilliant, sweet Hermia, and Lysander yield thy praised title to my certain right.
You have her father's love, Demetrius. Let me have Hermias. Do you marry him?
Scornful Lysander, through he has my love, and what is mine, my love shall render him. And she is mine, and all my right of her I do state unto Demetrius.
I am, my lord, as well as Eurydice, as well possessed. My love is more than his. My fortunes every way as fairly ran, if not with vantage as Demetrius, and which is more than all these boasts can be. I am beloved of beauteous Hermia. Why should not I then prosecute my right? Demetrius, I lavouche it to his head, made love to Nedar's daughter, Helena, and won her soul. And she, sweet lady, dotes, devotedly dotes in idolatry, upon this spotted and inconsistent man. I must confess that I heard so much, and with Demetrius told to have spoken thereof. But being overfull of self-affairs, my mind did lose it. But Demetrius, come, and then come, Egeus. You shall go with me. I have some private schooling for you both. For you, fair Hermia, look arm yourself to fit your fancies to your father's will, or else the law of Athens seals you up, which by no means we may extenuate to death or a vow of single life. Come, my Hippolyta, what cheer, my love? Demetrius and Aegeus, go along. I must employ you in some business against our nuptials, and confer with you of something nearly concerns yourself.
With duty and desire, we follow.
Now, my love, why is your cheek so pale? How chance those the roses their bouquet so fast?
We died for want of rain, which I could well reveal them from the tempest of my eyes.
Indeed, for aught that I could ever read, could ever hear by tale or history, the course of true love never did run smooth, but either it was different in life,
Oh, God, too hard to be child show.
or else misgaffed in respect of years,
Oh, spite, too old to engage too young.
or else it stood upon the choice of friends,
Oh, hell, choose thou by heaven's eye.
or if there were sympathy in choice, war, death, or sickness did lay siege to it, making it momentary as sound, swift as a shadow, short as any dream, brief as the lightning in coiled solid night, that in a scene unfolds both heaven and earth, and ere a man has power to say, behold, the jaws of darkness to devour them. So quick, bright things come to confusion.
If then true lovers have been ever taught, it stands an edict in this destiny, then let us teach our royal patience, because it is a customary cross, as due to love as thoughts and dreams and sighs, wishes and tears for friends and followers.
A good persuasion, therefore hear me, Hermia. I have a widow aunt, a dowager, of great revenue, and she has no child. From Athens is her house remote 7 leagues, and she respects me as her only son. Fair, gentle Hermia, may I marry thee, and do that place the sharp Athenian law cannot pursue us. If thou lovest me then, steal forth thy father's house tomorrow night, and in the wood, a league without the town, where I did meet thee once with Helena, to do observance to a morn of May, there I will stay for thee.
My good Lysander, I swear to thee, by Cupid's strongest love, by his best arrow with a golden head, by the simplicity of Venus' dog, by that which knitted stones and prosperous love, and by that fire which burnt the Carthage queen, when the false Trojan under his guillotine, by all the vows that ever men have broke, in number more than ever women spoke, in that safe place thou hast appointed me, tomorrow truly will I meet thee.
He promised, love. Look, here comes Helena.
Godspeed, fair Helena, whither away?
Call you me fair? That fair again I say. Demetrius loves you fair. Oh, happy fair! Your eyes are lodestars, and your tongue sweet air, more tunable than larks with shepherd's ear. When breezes swing, when hotter months appear, sickness is catching over fever so. Yours would I catch, fair Julia, here I go. My ear should catch your voice, my ardor, my eye your ear. My tongue should capture Celtic melodies, where the world lies, Demetrius being dated. The rest I give to thee translated. Oh, teach me how you do, with what art, you sway the motion of Demetrius' heart.
I thrown upon him the young Dante.
Oh, that your frown could fit my smile such gale.
I give him curses that he eats well.
Oh, that thy prayers could such affection move.
The more I hate, the more he follows me.
The more I love, the more he hates me.
His folly, Helena, is no fault of mine.
None but your beauty would that fault remind.
Take comfort, he no more shall see my face. Lysander and myself will lie this way. Before the time my Lysander seems Athens as a paradise to me. Oh, then what graces in my love to dwell, that he has turned a heaven into hell.
Helen, to you our minds we will unfold tomorrow night, When Phoebe does behold her silver visage in the watery glass, decking with liquid pearl the bladed grass, a time that lovers flight doth still conceal, through Athens' gates we devise to steal.
And in the woods where often you and I, upon straight primrose beds, were wont to lie, emptying our bosoms of their comfort, there my Lysander and myself shall meet, and thence from Athens where away our eyes, to seek new friends and stranger company. Farewell, sweet playfellow, pray love for us, and good luck grant me thy domestic. Keep word, Lysander, we must starve our sight from lover's food till morrow may prove.
I will, my Hermia. Helena Adwa.
Through Athens I am taught as fair as she. But what of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but we do know. And as he errs, doting on Hermia's eyes, so I, admiring on his qualities, since base and vile, holding no quantity. Love can transform, love can transform to form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind. And therefore, its wings beauty plain light. Nor hath love's night of any judgment day, wings and the wise figure and his decay. And therefore himself said to the exile, because he knows choice, he is soft of the wild. As Bobby's boy in games themselves were clear, so the boy loved perjured everywhere. For ere Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyes, he held down oath that he was only mine. And when his hail some hit from Hermia fell, so he dissolved and showered his own himself. I will go tell him fair Hermia's flight, then to the woods to sleep tomorrow night. Where two herds and forest in shelter.
You were best to vote them generally, man by man, according to his thing.
Here is the school of every man's name, which is thought fit through all Athens to play in our interviews before the Duke and the Duchess on its wedding day at night.
First, good Syracuse, say what the play brings on. Then, read the names of the actors and so go to appointments.
Mary, our play is the most lamentable comedy and most cruel death of Pyramus and Thisbe.
A very good piece of work, Syracuse. America. Now, good Syracuse, call forth your actors by stroke. Masters, spread yourselves.
Answer as I call you, Nick Bottom the Weaver.
Ready, name what part I ask for and proceed.
You, Nick Bottom, are set down for Pyramus,
What is environment, lover or a tyrant?
a lover that kills himself most gallant of her love.
That will have some cheerfulness to performing of it. If I do it, let the audience look to their eyes. I will move storms, I will condone in some measure. To the rest, yet my chief humor is for a tyrant. I could play Ursus Rayleigh or a part of a tear of a cadet to make it all split. The raging rocks and the shivering stocks. So break the locks of prison gates, and people's cars shall sigh from cars, and make it mar the foolish face. This was lofty. Now, name the rest of the players. This is Reckless Vein, a silent vein, a lover is more controlling.
Francis Flute, the bellows mender.
Here, pretty queen,
Flute, you must take Thisbe on you.
what is this be? A wandering knight?
It is a lady that Pyramus must love.
Nay, faith, let me not play a woman. I am a beard coming.
That's all one. You shall play it in a mask, and you may speak as small as you will.
And I may hide my face. Let me play this with you. I'll speak in a monstrous little voice. This day, Pyramus, lover there. Thy Thisbe there, and thy lady there.
No, no, you must not play Pyramus. And Flute, you Thisbe.
Well, proceed.
Robin Starveling, the hero. Robin Starveling, you must play Thisbe's mother. Tom Snout, the thinker.
Here, Peregrine.
You, Pyramus' father, myself,
Since his father's snug, the joiner, you, the lion's part, and I hope here is a play fitted.
Have you, have you the lion's butt bitten? Pray you, give it me, for I am so nothing.
You may do it example, for it is nothing but roaring.
Let me pray the lion too. I will roar that I will do any man for good to hear me. I will roar that will make the Duke say, let him roar again, let him roar again.
And you should do it too terribly. You would strike the duchess and the lady. That they would drink, and all that is enough to hang us all. That would hang every mother's son.
I grant you, friend, if that you should strike the ladies out of their wits, they would have no more discretion but to hang her. But I will aggravate my voice, so that I will roar you so gently to many sucking dogs. I will roar you on square any nightingale.
You can play no part but Pyramus, for Pyramus is a sweet-faced man, a proper man, as one shall see in a summer's day. A most lovely gentleman, like man. Therefore you must needs play Pyramus.
Well, take it. What beard will I best play in?
Why, what you will?
I will indulge in either your stone-colored beard, your orange smelly beard, your purple and green beard, or your French crown-colored beard, your perfect yellow.
Some of your French crowns have no will at all. And then you will play face beard, but, masters, here are your cards. And I am to entreat you, request you, and desire you to con them by tomorrow night, and meet me in the place Palace Good, a mile without the town, by moonlight. There will be rehearsed, for if we meet.
Whither wander you?
Over hill, over dale, sorrow bush, sorrow bright, over park, over pale, sorrow flood, sorrow fire. I do wander everywhere, swifter than the moon's spear, and I serve the faithful, to do her or upon the king.
The king of sheep is rebel here tonight. Take heed the queen come not within his sight. For Oberon is passing fair and wrath, because that she as her attendant hath a lovely boy, stolen from an Indian trade. She never had so sweet as shaking century, and jealous Oberon would have the child, night of his fate, to trace the forest wild. But she perforce withhold the loved boy, crowds him with flowers, and makes him all her joy. And now they meet in global by fountain pier or splendid starlight sea. But they do swear that overwhelmed for fear, creeping to acorn cups and hide them there.
Either I mistake your shape in making white, or else you are the shrewd and lavish sprite. Both Robin Good fellow are not to weak, that frights the maidens of the village. Skim milk and sometimes flavor in the bird, and bootless make the breathless housewife turn, and sometimes make the drink to bear no bark, mislead night wanderers, loveless at their heart. Those that hobgoblin call you and keep up, you do their work and they shall have good luck. Are not you he?
Thou speak right. I am the merry wanderer of the night. I jest to Oberon and make him smile, when I, a fat and big-fed horse beguile, neighing in likeness of a Philip foal, and sometimes learn I in gossip's bowl, in very likeness of a roasted crab, and when he drinks against her lips I bob, and on her withered dewlap pour the ale, the wine and odds telling the cabin tale. Sometimes for me, then slip I from her bum, without double cheek, and hear her cries and go into a cough. And then the whole queer hold her hips and laugh, and waxing to the mirth and near and queer. A merrier hour was never wasted there. But, room fairy, here comes Oberon!
And here, my mistress, was that you were gone.
I'll bet by moonlight now hiking.
Hot, drunk
Sorry, rash wanton, I am not thy lord.
Then I must be thy lady, but I know when gold has stolen away from fairyland, and in the shape of currents half all day, laying on pipes of corn and bursting low, summer is still dark, where art thou here? Come from the farthest peak of India, but that forsooth the dancing answer, where spontaneous gems and your fire love, the sage must be wedded in this hall, to give their beds joyous prosperity.
How canst thou thus for shame entitle? Glance at my credit in photograph, knowing I know thy love to the tale. Didst thou not lead him to the glimmering night, from Periginia, from whom he ravished, and make him a fair, a eagle gracious face, with Arjane and Antiope.
These are the four journeys of jealousy, and never since the middle summer spring, left me on hill in dale, forest, or mead, by place, fountain, or by rushy brook, or in the beach margin of the sea. Thus are ringlets of the wintry grace, but which thy brows have thou hast disturbed our sport. Therefore the wind piping to us in vain, as in revenge, it sucks from the sea. Contagious fog is falling in the land, and every Celtic river made so proud, that they have overborne their continent.
Do you amend it then? It lies in you. Why should Titania float her overon? I do but beg a little challenging law, to be my henchman.
Set your heart at rest. The fairyland bites not the child of me. His mother was a bold parent of my order, and his spice Indian air by night, who often had gossip by my side, and sat with me on Nelson's yellow sand, marking the guard traitors on the flood, when we have lost sea sail and drove big ballads with the Watson bee, with she, pretty and living grace, following her bones and rich with my young grace, would in mistake and sail upon the land, especially castles to return again, and from a voyage which with merchandise, that she, the immortal of that voyage, died, and for her sake do I rear up her glory, for her sake I will not part you.
How long within this wood intend you stay?
Perhaps till after she say of wedding day. If you will patiently dance in our rounds, and see our moonlight vessels go with us, if not, shun me and I will spare your son.
Give me that boy, and I will go with you.
Now for thy fair kingdom, fair to veil, we shall try a dull right if I longer stay.
Well, go thy way, not from this world.